My pleasure to introduce on stage Mr. Mark Hill, Vice President, Microsoft Corporation. Give it up for him as well, ladies and gentlemen. We have a cricketer here, do we?
All right. Can you all hear me? There's a bit of cricket going on at the moment, isn't there? And as I heard earlier today, I'd like you all to tell me, in a really loud voice, who do you think is going to win the Cricket World Cup this year? India! Say it again. India! I'm not sure I heard you. Who do you think is going to win the Cricket World Cup? India! You're absolutely right. South Africa. Being South African, of course. And I bet you never expected someone from Redmond who's been invited to an Indian conference to come and tell you that their team's going to win and not yours. Well, let's hope that we can meet you in the final, because that's the only possible way we can redeem our loss against you recently. It's, a lot of surprises today. It's a surprise that South Africa managed to get to and actually win a knockout game. We've never managed to do that. We've never got to the knockout round, or we got to the knockout round, never won a knockout game before. Can you believe it? A lot of surprises. I said that South Africa will win. Another surprise today, because you're going to hear a lot during my session. My title. I'm a guy that's been at Microsoft for coming on 23 years. I love the company. I've done all sorts of things. I ran the Africa business, been in the enterprise business, did global planning. Guess what my title is at Microsoft? Vice President, Open Source Sales and Marketing. Bet you'd never hear somebody from Microsoft with that title, huh? So, what are we doing around open source? Why is this suddenly so important for Microsoft? What are we doing? Well, the industry's changing. Microsoft's changing. We've got a fantastic business ahead of us as we move into the cloud. And I'd like to tell you what we're doing. Many of you would have seen a lot of the announcements we've been doing recently, announcing partnerships with open source companies, taking Microsoft products and putting them in the open source domain, like our .NET framework and the core of .NET. We've just recently put that in the open source domain. There's been a lot of announcements. Even our CEO, Satya Nadella, did a presentation recently, and you can see the photograph of him in the middle there, underneath the banner that says, Microsoft loves Linux. This is a real change, and I bet you many of you are saying, come on, is this April Fool's Day or something over here? What's going on? Well, the thing is, times are changing, and we're a company that will always change with the times, and we'll always take business opportunities and forge ahead, and that's exactly what we're doing. Now, this is not really that new. We've been working in the open source world for a while. We've got more than 10 years' experience at doing that. Admittedly, it wasn't the core to our business, clearly, but we've done some key things over the last 10 years. And recently, it's really been hotting up. And you've seen all of the press releases that I showed you in the previous slide. So why? Well, we're reinventing our company. Yesterday, both our keynote speakers yesterday showed a slide like this. At Microsoft, we believe we're a company that provides productivity and platform services in a mobile-first and a cloud-first world. And for us to be able to provide platform services to customers, we're only successful as a platform player if customers who use our platform are successful. And for that reason, we need to be able to provide a very, very broad platform that caters for all of our customers' needs. Whether it's a Microsoft application or a .NET application, or whether it's an open source or a Linux-based application, we need to provide the platform from left to right. And so at Microsoft, we've got to start changing. We have to start changing the way we build our products. We have to start changing the way we provide products. And we've got to change the way our customers and our Microsoft staff and our partners talk about our business. So when we look at our customers, we see that their infrastructure is a function of time. Many different technologies that have been acquired over the last years, many different standards, and we call it the landscape of now. Lots of different types of software, lots of different frameworks, programming languages, you name it. And so when customers talk to us about moving to the cloud, they have a real dilemma. How do they move to the cloud? How do they standardize? Do they have to rip and replace? If they move to the cloud, can they turn back? Can they undo it? Is this a one-way street? How do they make sure that they're betting on the right technology? Are they limiting options by moving to the cloud? What happens if something else happens in the future, or if a government law changes which requires a different level of data sovereignty? And these are the things that customers talk to us all day long. And for us to be a platform player for our customers, we've got to be able to provide a platform and help them and guide them on this journey. So how do we do that? Well, we believe that the only way to do that is to have an open approach to help our customers on their journey to the cloud. And this slide, I'll talk to you about what that open approach is and give you proof points of why we think we have the most open approach compared to all of the hyperscale cloud vendors in the market today. I bet you never thought somebody from Microsoft would say that to you either. Step number one, the first pillar of our open approach is rooted in the belief that we're always, at Microsoft, we've always been about empowering others, empowering our customers. We have a belief that in order to provide this platform, we need to provide freedom of choice. You'll see in the rest of my presentation and Madahan's presentation that follows mine, we provide a very, very, very wide range of choice of technologies and software on our platform. However, it's not just the freedom of choice, it's also the freedom from choice, not to have to make decisions that limit your future. At Microsoft, if you move to our cloud, it's not a rip and replace, and you can go back to an on-premise business. With our hybrid cloud approach, customers can start and decide which applications to move to the public cloud, which applications to put at a data center for a partner or a service provider, and what to keep on premises. And then you can move these workloads around, and you can move them back. And that is freedom to not have to choose a technology direction if you don't want to. We're the only company in the hyperscale partners or the hyperscale cloud vendors that can do that. We're also about maximizing value. We say it's like having a slider bar. On the left-hand side, you put everything on premise, you run it all yourself. You've got all the perceived security and privacy benefits and that you think you got by running the situation or running your workloads yourself. And as you move that slider bar to the right through service provider all the way through to a public cloud, your cost ratio decreases and there's perceived increase of privacy and security risks. And what we believe is that you should be able to put that slider wherever you want from left to right to choose your risk profile and your value profile. And that's also unique across the hyperscale vendors. And then lastly, and possibly the most important one in this pillar about empowering customers, is our investment that we put into the market. The way we stimulate economies, the amount of money we plow into every country where we operate. For every rupee that we earn here in India, 10 rupees get earned and generated in our partnerships and the local economy. Have a look at all of our investments that we've made in this country, and it outweighs everything that Google and AWS have done combined. And that's the same in every other country where we operate. So look at these pillars, and you say it's about freedom of choice, it's about freedom to move your data in and out and where you want to put it. It's about the lowest possible, maximum value at the lowest possible cost based on your risk profile, and it's about stimulating the local economy. Those are the hallmarks of what open source stood for and still does. So we empower customers. What does that mean? And how do we do that? Well, we empower customers by enabling choice. And in this pillar, I'd like to talk to you about how we enable that choice. One, we believe that our business, to provide productivity and platform services, we have to be cross-platform. You've seen many announcements by Microsoft of how we're putting our software on. Let's start at the device level. our software on Microsoft devices, of course, but any browser and any client device, whether it's Android or iOS, you've seen us start putting a lot of our software into those domains. Open standards. We believe the only way to create that cross-platform business is to adhere to open standards. We participate in over 400 standards bodies today, and we actively work with 150 standards authorities to help those authorities operate, to be able to provide information and to help them make their decisions. And that allows us to then take these standards and put them into our products. Interoperability is core to our business, and especially when it comes to data. At Microsoft, we have very, very clear procedures and processes about how your data works, where it is, what's the persistence of your data in your VMs that you create. And it's a core fundamental principle is the interoperability in our systems in our cloud. And then lastly, we can't do this without deep engagement with the open source community. We are implementing and putting open source leads in every one of our subsidiaries. We're rehiring a lot of people. We're hiring people from the open source community to fill these roles at Microsoft. And in my virtual team around the world, these open source leads are responsible for going out into the open source communities, engaging with them, explaining our strategy, and helping meet their needs and bringing their solutions onto Microsoft Azure. So we empower customers, and the first step to do that is enabling choice. So why are we on this open journey? To empower customers. How do we do that? By enabling choice. What is it that we eventually deliver? And we are here to provide a trusted cloud. That's the bottom line. Trusted cloud. Cloud, public cloud, private cloud in the customer's environment, or a service provider cloud in one seamless approach. And there's four things that I'd like to talk about in our private cloud, in our trusted cloud environment. Number one, commitment to secure. An extremely secure cloud, right from the client, all the way through to the pipe, all the way through to the back. Security by default, and we have very, very stringent certifications for security. And we meet all the standards that exist, plus a whole lot more that we've invented for ourselves around security for your data. But just being secure isn't enough. It's also about privacy. And privacy is not about secrecy. Privacy is about you being in control of who can see your data and under what terms and conditions. Sometimes you want a business partner to see some data, sometimes your customers, but you should be in control. And at Microsoft, we meet the highest standards we're the only hyperscale vendor that meets the highest standards and certifications for privacy in the industry today. And we have very, very detailed processes around privacy. By default, no one at Microsoft can access your data until they've given explicit permission to do that. And that is logged, and you can see those logs 24 hours a day. We also, as a hyperscale vendor, we have data centers in many, many regions in the world. And so we operate in many different legal jurisdictions. And that provides a complexity for our business because different legal jurisdictions have different laws. And so we've invented a very detailed process to make sure that we don't have government access to anybody's data in a Microsoft cloud without due legal process. And we're so committed to that that we even sued the US government multiple times to prevent them from getting data from Microsoft and in our data centers around the world. We show you the process, we lay it out for you very clearly, and we give you the tools to choose on which data centers you want to put your data so that you're totally in control of your privacy. We publish a report every month. It's online. The Microsoft law, the law enforcement or the law enforcement request report. We publish it online, and we publish the number of requests we get from every country in the world for access to our data. You'll see there, 23,000 last month or something like that. The number that we satisfied, 0. Because unless there's proper due process under that legal jurisdiction, we don't provide any data. And there are some cases, clearly, in some laws where you have a subpoena and it's within the law that we'll have to provide the data. In those cases, we'll obviously let everybody know. And you'll see that across the world, we've never, outside of the United States, never provided any data to any government for any business organization anywhere in the world. The data where we are forced to provide it is for consumers, and it's a very, very, very few cases. There's no government access or back end. And so by being transparent around how we do it, giving you the tools to manage your privacy, and implementing the security so no one can hack into the systems, we believe we've provided this trusted cloud better than any of our competitors. And we are dedicated to get compliance to every region's certification. So whether it's FISMA or HIPAA or any region or industry certification, we will make sure that our data centers meet those standards. So when you look at my statement, Microsoft's open approach, it's about adhering to some key principles that means empowering our customers. We deliver that by enabling a bunch of choices in a cross-platform way, in an interoperable way with open standards. The result is the most trusted cloud, because between your on-premises business, a service provider business, and a public cloud, you have ultimate choice and ultimate trust in where you put your data. So that's our principle here, and that, in order to deliver that trusted cloud, we have to engage with all of these open source solutions, and we have to provide open source solutions ourselves. So let's have a look at that. When we say our Azure and our entire cloud business, not just Azure, which is our public cloud, is an open cloud, what do we mean? Well, on Azure, you can use any of the popular open source applications, whether it is content management systems like Drupal or WordPress or Joomla. We have implementations of all of those running on various Windows and Linux solutions. You can download the VMs, you can implement them. We even provide some of these as a service, some from Microsoft, some from third parties. And we invest in them. When we invest and we, for example, we recently worked with Moodle. Many of you know Moodle. It's a content management system that we very popular in educational institutions. We built a whole lot of code that we put into the Moodle code that connects on Azure and connects to Office 365, so you can do single sign-on and you can do allocation of resources and accounts through Moodle into Office 365. And we'll put that code back into Moodle and contribute it back into the open source domain. So all of that work between ourselves and our partners allows a much richer experience in an application level. You can choose any framework and development tool that you like, whether it's .NET, whether it's Java, Node.js, Python, PHP. We have SDKs, rich SDKs for all of them, and we have runtime environments, a Java runtime environment that is very, very rich. You can start a Linux VM and build a Java app, but if you don't want to manage the VM, you can just simply use the Java PaaS service and run your application without managing a Linux VM. Any data. We committed to providing VMs and PaaS services for all the popular open source database environments. Through ClearDB, we implement a MySQL PaaS service. We have MongoDB. We recently did some work with Redis Cache. We provide Oracle. That's not an open source environment, but it is an interoperable environment. You can come to Microsoft, go to Azure and spin up an Oracle VM, or you can bring your own Oracle license along if you want. Run it on Linux. And a good example there is when we want to implement our own big data solution. Instead of building one ourselves, we simply went and reached out, joined the Hadoop Foundation, and we implemented Hadoop as our big data environment. And we have two implementations of that, as you know. One is on Windows, one is on Linux, so customers can choose which environment to use. And then lastly, any device and operating system. Any front-end device, Linux distribution, it's all available, and we're committed to keeping those updated and providing you multiple versions and multiple iterations of those operating system environments. So you could say, but Mark, kind of the other guys also do this. So stop waxing lyrical on the stage here. Yep, some of them do that. How many of them do it in a hybrid way? None. How many of them do that in most of the competitors, or also I would agree are hyperscale vendors? How many of them do it in an enterprise grade that will provide people in country to look after your needs, that have the support staff and have the sales and consulting people in every country around the world to go on premises? None of them. That's one of our very, very key. We can do all of this open work. We can look at all of the entire industry and bring it to market, but we'll do it in a hybrid way, at hyperscale, at an enterprise grade and enterprise level support. And so you might say, well, that's, an illustrious goal, Mark. Let me ask this question. Out of the entire Azure business, out of every single electron that runs through all the cores in our Azure data centers around the world, what percentage of the computing in Azure is driven directly by a Linux operating system today? Okay? Worldwide, 22% of all Azure cycles are driven or consumed by a Linux operating system. And in India, that number is 31%. And we believe that number will be 50% in the next 2 years, because that's the market demand for public cloud. It doesn't matter whether it is a Windows or a Microsoft product or an open source product. It's a service from Microsoft. And so therefore we'll map what the customer demand is and the industry demand is. So, very briefly, let's have a look at a partner of ours who have built a great application using open source on Azure.
Sela has been around for over 20 years, offering IT training, consulting, and outsourcing services worldwide. We have offices around the world. Headquarters is in Israel. We have 2 offices in the US, 1 in India, and 1 here in Toronto. We offer top-notch training. We work closely with Microsoft Learning, developing Microsoft official courseware.
Sela Canada is a company that is focused on training, partner building, and app development.
At Sela, we're very proud of our learning heritage, where we are giving back to the community through user group talks, through conference speaking opportunities. Just recently, Sela won the Partner of the Year award for the Humanitarian Response category for the WPC, for the work we did for St. Mike's Hospital here in Toronto.
Back in November, we went to Hacking Health, and 2 social workers from St. Mike's got up and pitched the My Baby and Me Passport, which was a paper booklet for young women of no fixed address who are pregnant. And they wanted to get this onto phones. So I went to them and told them about Windows Phone, showed them what we could do, and over the course of a 48-hour hackathon, we built a functioning app.
We built our entire platform on Azure. It was very easy, straightforward, and we never had any downtime with it, which is priceless for us, because our clients rely on that reliability when they're using our apps.
Working with Azure is really, really fun, because the interface to work with it is very simple. The other benefit is that you get all the benefits of outsourcing the actual physical servers with none of the loss. You still have that control over what you want to build your servers with. Do you have a very specific kind of build? Azure plays nice with everything. It's a really open, wonderful, powerful system that realistically gets rid of a lot of my problems, but keeps the power in my hands.
If I met someone who was skeptical whether Microsoft is going the open source path, I would just tell them, come to the Make Web Not War website, blogs, events, and learn about the work that these guys are doing.
I think that Microsoft's response to openness is a good one. There is an effort on Microsoft's part to integrate in open source and open mindset into their products, which is really refreshing, because then it's putting that power back in my hands as the developer. I can make the decision on what's going to work best for me, and I don't have to go out and learn a new language or learn new platforms, because it'll just play with what I know.
There we go. So that's Sela, and they really have done a good job with their application, and that's all built on open source in Azure. And so very briefly, I'd like to talk about where we're going. What's the future? Are we just here to provide a bunch of open source and interoperable functions and features on Azure? Well, the answer is, we'll do that clearly, but we're also looking at where industry trends are going, and we're making sure that we're partnering with the open source communities that are driving those industry trends, and we're doing deep partnerships and collaboration to be the leader in those open source technologies in the future. And so it's a strange thing for Microsoft to say, but let me give you just a very quick feel for some of these things. When it comes to next generation architectures, we're doing a huge amount of work to make sure that we have some of the most modern things that you could want to do from an architecture point of view. And I'll just highlight one quick thing here. The work we're doing with Docker and containerization. We're doing a huge investment in containerization. We have in the next version of Windows Server, we have containerization technology there that has a seamless API and interface with Docker. You can use either the Windows or the Docker interfaces to control both sides. We'll take the Docker hub and we're putting it into the Azure Gallery, and we're investing in a whole lot of technology to make sure that that's a seamless approach. Great. But what about using that containerization approach across a hybrid cloud scenario? Now we're talking about doing things really, really, really interesting, and we're the only people that can do that. Let's have a look at some managed services. We've got many hyperscale managed services today. Look at HD Insight, the Hadoop services, both on Windows and Linux as an example there. We've got over 3,000 different elements in the marketplace today, and we'll continue to provide more and more services based on open source software that Microsoft will run as a first party, or we'll have partners do it. What about DevOps? You'll hear more from Madhan in the session right after mine, which is about deploying large-scale Linux systems on Azure. He's going to talk a little bit about this. But we've done a huge amount of work, and we've recently announced a partnership with Chef in order to really be at the forefront of deploying applications across Windows and Linux, across the cloud, across on-premise, and to make sure that we can really ride this DevOps wave and give you an opportunity to choose your IDE, to choose your framework, to choose your language, and then to be able to participate in this DevOps revolution. A lot of work we're doing. One of the examples is we're integrating what we do with PowerShell DSC with Chef, and making sure that we can have Linux support for that as well, so that whichever skills you've got, it doesn't matter, you can use those to look at both environments, empowering our customers. And then lastly, the Internet of Things. Ton of stuff we're doing here. This week we announced at our conference, at our Convergence conference, we announced a whole lot of details about our Internet of Things. You should go and read that up on the web. Powerful, all the way from the front end, all the way through to the back end, and the ability to integrate to real-time, interrogate and analyze pipes of data coming through. A good example here is we have a lot of technology in Azure, like our service bus, our event hubs, etc., and our stream analytics, which is a way to look at data as it streams through. But if you don't want to use that, then just go and use Apache Storm. We've integrated that too. And that's a good proof point of how you can mix and match and remove maybe a Microsoft implemented technology and put in an open source technology. And we've bundled that all together in a nice way. So these are just 4 areas that everybody's interested in, and to show you how we're engaging with the leaders in those industries to make this happen. So what I'd like to do now is to call on one of our customers who use open source on Azure, Mr. Mandar Marulka. Mandar, if you'd like to come up on stage, and I'd like to ask him a few questions about experiences with open source on Azure. Welcome.
Thank you. So I think this headguard is for me because my account management team is here, and I'm going to talk about open source today.
Oh, well, the more you run open source on Azure, the more the account managers get paid. So it's a new world for Microsoft. So Mandar, tell us very briefly, tell us what your business is about.
See, KPIT is not new to the guys in Pune. We are a 500 or close to $500 million organization. We will be this year. And we are a very fast-growing organization. We are aspiring to become double in next 2-3 years' time. And we are focused on two areas, mainly the ERP and engineering, very distinct. And that is how is our specialty, because of the ERP, we understand the business IT, and engineering, we really know that what are the challenges into the manufacturing, automotive, and utilities. And we really come up with the modernization and transformation solution to help our customers.
That's great. And so what do you do with open source on Azure? What do you run?
See, we started engagement. We have a very strong relationship with Microsoft for last many years. So we are running a lot of cloud initiatives like Office 365 or Azure or Enterprise Mobility Suite. And a year back when we started our journey on Azure, at that time, majority, we have currently more than 100 VMs which are running various Linux stack. Basically all stack around LAMPs, whether it is a Linux or Apache or MySQL, PHP. So all those kind of workloads I am running on the Azure, and especially as it is a business IT, for business IT we are running the Oracle Fusion applications on Ubuntu, or we also have engineering, so when we look at our IoT offerings to the customers, so when we are building the platform, so a lot of Hadoop components we are running on the Azure.
Excellent, excellent. And what were your, what were your experiences at doing this? Because you're certainly one of the leading customers in terms of size and volume. What were your experiences? What is the journey like?
See, journey, initially there were teething issues because the end users who are the developers, they were used to getting the servers on-prem. And that is how they were getting all the root accesses and when they were installing the applications. However, maybe after a couple of months with the help of Microsoft, we trained those guys. And they are very comfortable in using the lot of VMs. The important thing is, as it is a business IT, we require huge workloads. And those kind of servers are not really available for example, if my business team tells me that we wanted to do a POC in 3 weeks time on a big application around ERP, and they wanted a big infrastructure, I can't build that infrastructure on premise. And that is how, or even when we talk to some of the Indian cloud service provider, they have on their catalog the servers available with 2 GB, 4 GB, 8 GB, maximum 16 GB. When we require really the A9 kind of workloads, which are 128 GB, which are big requirements, that is where we really work with Azure. And another thing is the latencies, because we work for global customers. And when we really wanted to demonstrate, at that time, we have a choice whether to host that into the US data center, Asia data center, and now in the India data center.
Well, that's excellent. And the session afterwards by Madhan will talk to you about deploying these large applications and these large environments. But so lastly, a quick question. So have you had any thoughts about what else you would like to do with open source on Azure moving forward?
See, a lot of things. I'm very passionate about Microsoft technologies as well as I'm very passionate about open source. Because as a part of our IoT, we have a very large focus into the IoT area and we are building a platform. So a lot of in-memory things, the components which mentioned about the Redis or MongoDB or Hadoop and so many other things, what we are really doing is building the applications. We are getting the different data injectors. We are writing the MQTT listeners. We are really having a lot of insights processing, complex event processing kind of algorithms. And those we are running it, or we are planning to run it into the Azure cloud platform. Because when we talk to our customers, already most of our customers have large enterprise agreements with Microsoft. They also are using the Azure platform, and then when we are providing any kind of solutions, they are expecting it not to host it in any other, but make it work in their preferred Azure platform. And that is how we are building the whole skill set and all the applications which can run as a platform for IoT in the Azure area.
Well, Mandar, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience with us. You've been a great customer at Microsoft for a long time, and we hope for a very, very long time moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so to finish up here, if you want to learn more, clearly we have a booth here outside. There's an Microsoft open source booth outside. If you want to talk to any of us, we'll be there at lunch and moving forward. There's a Microsoft Openness site, which will give you a lot of good information. We have an Openness blog, and that's actually if you want to follow all the news, because this almost daily there's a new agreement, there's a new thing we're doing. A blog is a great way to just keep up to date. Just go and read that every day or a few days. And then if you want to know more details about exactly which projects we're contributing to, how many lines of code we're doing, what are the technical details, the hundreds and hundreds of projects that we're contributing to. The Microsoft Open Technologies Group, or MS Open Tech, is the place where you go to get the level of detail that you were, to find out exactly what we're doing and who's doing it, who's contributing. And then, so with that said, I want to make an announcement today. We're announcing today a worldwide first. We're opening a new open source on Azure community. We're starting this in India. It's a global community, but we're kicking it off here in India. The idea is to get like-minded individuals who are trying to lead the way in doing open source on Azure, to share experiences, to share best practices. And that allows us to, we'll also facilitate that community, and we'll have our engineering and our services people on that community as well, so that we can really have a vibrant learning experience. You can go to microsoftopenness.com/community, join, sign up. Some very interesting surprises for you if you do that. So please continue to do that. And so to wrap up, a few things. One, thank you very much for coming to the conference. I have been at Microsoft for 23 years, and I love this place. I think I'm the most fortunate guy to be able to start off a new initiative like the open source business at Microsoft. I love it. And I hope you come on this journey with us. And to finish off, I'd like to finish off by going back to how I started the session today. So, who would like to know what the score is in the game right now? So, India is 115 for 3 after 28 overs. Going well. And you saw a couple of new things today. And I think we've got a great opportunity together. But I think there's one thing we all agree. There's one thing we all agree. Who's going to win today? I would put it on, but it's a bit small. Thank you very much.